Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I received my new order from Selective Gardener, the official distributor of Optimara African Violets, and I wanted to do an unboxing for you. So let's get started. This is my second order from Selective Gardener. My first one was last year when I just started growing my new African violet collection. I ordered one plug then of Optimara Ever Precious. It's a space violet series, and 4 pairs of leaves. And I grew all of the varieties successfully except of one, Optimara Romance from the Victorian Charm series. And so when I saw that Selective Gardener had it available and they had a special on it, I just couldn't resist. So on top we see some leaves that I ordered. So I ordered 2 sets of leaves. Well, I didn't order Little Sonata. I ordered the plant for Little Sonata. Did they not have it available? Let's see. And then I have a set of leaves for Little Trio, which I did order. And a set of leaves for Optimara Los Angeles. And this is Romance, adult size plant. It's packaged really well. And let's get it out. Well, let's do it in this little container here, because I see some of the dust coming out, but that's inevitable when the plants are shipped. There's one more item here. And I believe it's the Little Sonata mini violet that I had ordered. So I ordered 2 plants and 2 sets of leaves. So the first plant was Optimara Romance, and the second plant was Optimara Little Sonata. And it looks really nice. I love the blooms. They are pink, but they're not pink really. They're more lavender pink. I'm so excited to have this variety. In this episode, I also wanted to show you what I normally do when I receive leaves and new plants. I inspect the plants first, and it looks like Little Sonata just needed a little cleanup, and otherwise it looks very good and it looks happy in its original pot. So I will take it to the quarantine room where I will keep it separately from my African violet collection plants to make sure it's healthy and it can join her African violet buddies. And I will keep it there for about a couple of months. And I will probably repot it into my potting mix that has systemic insecticide in a week or 2 after it acclimates to my growing environment. Optimara Romance will need a little bit more of a cleanup, and I will show it to you later. But in the meantime, while I'll be cleaning Optimara Romance, I started soaking the leaves that I received, and I pre-soak them separately because I don't want them to mix up, and I attach or put a label next to each of the jars in which they're soaking to make sure that there's no mix-up between different varieties. So I will let them soak in the room temperature water for a couple of hours. They came a little soft because we are now in the 90s Fahrenheit and it was rather warm when they arrived. So I wanted them to regain their turgor and to get them a little crisper before I plant them up. So now I'm gonna go and start cleaning up Optimara Romance. For the first cleanup, I use a makeup brush with synthetic fibers. It's soft to the touch, so it's not gonna hurt the leaves when I brush off the dust that was in the box on the leaves. And I just gently brush it off. And so as we're looking at this plant up close, we see that and I recommend that you do this inspection when you receive your new plants as well. We see that it has a sucker. Here we have a center right there. And a sucker is a new growth that appears on the main stem of an African violet rosette. So we see one or two suckers here, and the main stem is in here. So now it appears that I will need to remove the sucker before having it repotted, because I just can't put it in a quarantine room like that and have those suckers grow bigger. I need to remove them right away. And why I need to remove them is because I want my main rosette to grow symmetrical. Okay, so let's now get the plant out of the pot and we gently squeeze it to release the soil. And let's inspect the roots and the stem of the rosette. So we gently remove the soil in a way that will allow us better see the stems of the suckers. So here is one. So this is the main stem and this is the stem of the sucker, small sucker's crown. Gently removing the soil not to disturb the root system. It's interesting also to see the type of soil used by Selective Gardener. It looks like peat-based soil with some styrofoam beads. This is not perlite, it's soft and squishy to the touch, and these are styrofoam beads. So then I see also one crown here, one crown here, and guess what? There is a third crown inside here. Right here. So we will have 3 suckers. So let's start with the small sucker removal of the smallest one. Hopefully you can see it, but I will try to gently pull it away. I will try to not to use the X-Acto knife on this one and see if I can just pull it out. And voila. So this is one little sucker plant that I will root, and it even has a tiny little root of its own, so that will make it easier for the sucker to grow more roots and to grow into a new plant. This root is still fresh. We can pot it up right away so that the root doesn't dry out. and it starts growing faster. So I'm just using my regular soil, and I'm gonna make a little hole in here for the sucker. And the soil is moist but not too wet. And then we're gonna gently place the sucker, but in a way that we don't bury the center, because we don't want the center to get wet. And so we will cover it gently with soil, but not pack it too tight, just loosely. So you see how the center is still nice and dry. And then we're gonna water it just a touch. And I'm using a ketchup squeeze bottle because I found it as a very good tool for me to water. And that's it. So this one is ready. And I'll put it in a little greenhouse so it will start rooting faster. And for greenhouses, I just use plastic sterilite containers that you guys probably had seen already in my videos. Okay, that's it. This one is done. So now we have this one here, this crown, and then we have this crown. So this looks like a juvenile leaf. They also root nicely. I might try rooting this one, but normally when you shape crown in an African violet, you remove the juvenile leaves. So one more. And removing leaves helps us see the stem of the main rosette better. Right here. And there is even a little flower bud in there, which we will have to remove, because when you shape the rosette and when you pot it, you want the plant to focus on growing the leaves and the roots, not the blooms, because the blooms take energy. So we're gonna remove that bloom stalk. I think I might remove this leaf as well. It will help me if I remove it, and I can plant it as well. Yeah, so here definitely, now that leaves are removed, here you can see nicely, this is the sucker and this is the main crown, because usually the suckers look smaller and the main crown looks larger. Here the main crown, and this is the sucker. So I will go ahead and use an X-Acto knife on this one, just to make sure I don't damage the trunk of the stem of the main crown. And I showed you the X-Acto knife in my previous videos, and I used it today to open the box. It's a very nice tool to have if you want to learn to separate the suckers. It's very helpful, and I hope you are seeing here what I'm gonna do. So again, gently we will try to separate this sucker from the main stem of the crown. And it separates very nicely, and I can show you up close here. So it was growing between this leaf of the main crown and this next row leaf, and it even already grew its own roots. So this will be our second sucker that we will plant and grow a separate rosette out of it. And we will be planting the main plant that is all cleaned up. I have chosen a 3.5 inch pot, and I think it's gonna be a good enough size pot for this plant to go on a wick. I already put the wick through, and it's a regular 4-ply acrylic yarn that is moist, pre-moistened and pre-soaked. and this is just plain water to start with, and then I'll start fertilizing and as this plant acclimates. So I will put a little bit of potting mix on the bottom of the pot, and I think I already showed you how I pot my plants on wicks in a wick watering video that I made a couple months ago. So first we put a little bit of soil on the bottom, and then we put the plant, and I think it looks good. So now we can just hold it like this to make sure that the center of the rosette is leveled with the top of the pot, and we can just start adding soil around to make sure it fills all the cavities, but not to the very end just yet, because we will need to, now that we had almost filled it in, but it still has about an inch left. I lead the wick around the pot inside and then fill in the rest of the potting mix. Like that. Just a touch of water around the pot because that's where the wick is. So the wicking action starts going. And we made sure not to bury the center of the rosette. And now we're going to finish potting the leaves that I had started already. And I have only one set of leaves remaining, which is the Little Sonata leaves. What happened while the leaves were pre-soaking, they plumped up for a couple of hours, and then I got them out and put them on paper towels like this to let them air dry. And then I trimmed the ends of the leaves and potted them in the potting mix, each of them individually. And I put the labels on every pot because I like these stickers, but I find that I lose them sometimes and you can't really attach them well, or at least I can't attach them well so that I don't lose them. So I just put the labels instead. So this is Optimara Los Angeles, and this is Optimara Little Trio. And so I will show you now how I will be potting the Optimara Little Sonata. So we have 3 leaves. One is a larger leaf and 2 smaller ones. So I will put 2 smaller ones in one pot and 1 large one in another pot. And these are just condiment plastic cups. I use them for leaf propagation, and I make holes on the bottom of the pot with a soldering iron. I use X-Acto knife to trim the edge, and you need a cutting board or a solid surface in order to make the straight cut. And I make the cut at 45 degrees at about ½ inch to an inch from the leaf. Just like that. So I'm making the fresh cut after they pre-soaked and dried, air dried. And then I wait a few minutes for the fresh cut also to dry up a little bit. And then I will pot these in the prepared potting mix. To pot them, I just make a little opening in the potting mix like that, and then just put them under an angle, just like that, and then just water them ever so gently not to make the potting mix soggy, but just to provide enough moisture for them to start rooting. So that's one. And then the last leaf of Little Sonata. Here we are. It's still a little moist, so that's fine. We can just tap it dry with a paper towel. When they're wet, they can start rotting in the greenhouse environment, and this is where they are going after I pot them. Alright, so I made the hole here, and so we can just gently put it like that, and just a touch of moisture. So now all the leaves are potted up. And this is my second order from the Selective Gardener, Optimara Romance, the main plant, and we now got 3 suckers and 5 leaves potted up. The sets of leaves and also a plant of Little Sonata from the Optimara Music series. I hope you enjoyed them. Thank you all so very much for watching. Stay safe and stay well. And I hope I will see you again on the next episode of my African Violet adventures.